Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin brief for Sunday, October 19th. Hope you've had a good weekend. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their prayers and everything with my daughter. She is safe back at home. We had a scare, a couple of them actually, where she wasn't breathing properly, but she was admitted, um, to a hospital for children, and she got taken care of and pretty quickly actually. So they knew what they were doing over there as well. So that was I'm very thankful for that. So for this video, we are going to cover the total market cap 1, 2, 3 and Bitcoin. This is going to be a Bitcoin oriented video. I'm going to get back into doing the Bitcoin brief videos, which I've kind of merged into the premium videos, but I do want to extract them again and have them as free videos. I want to do more free video content as I've done in the past. For the past couple of months, I've been doing exclusively paid membership videos, and I've never stopped doing that. I've actually given them more over the past couple months, but I do want to start doing more free. I don't even like calling it free, just like video commentary, because this is what you guys want to look for, right? Like typically you want to see, I can explain more in a video, and so sometimes a chart doesn't explain things very well. Sometimes people don't want to read. So anyway, I promise that these videos will not be as long as this one. I'm just kind of explaining that. And so one thing I will do differently is for the old Bitcoin brief videos, I was doing Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I think I'm only going to do Bitcoin. I think it makes more sense that a video called Bitcoin Brief only talks about Bitcoin. So, and I think one hidden aspect of that is I think a lot of people would really do better not focusing on altcoins, and not focusing on small caps or trench coins. I dabble into all those. I trade Bitcoin. I trade stocks, Ethereum. I trade as well. I trade all kinds of altcoins. I trade very low small cap coins. The past 30 days, I think, or probably 30 days. Our premium group has shared. We've discussed a coin that was under 200 market cap, and so I'm across the board. But some people are only interested in Bitcoin, and some people should only be interested in Bitcoin. I think that's very important, because the more that you study one particular coin over and over and over again, you can learn to trade that better. And I think that really gets missed, especially in 2025. We want to go into the trenches, go into pump fund, and I think that's only for certain people. Most people lose money in the pump fund for a reason. It's not just because it's scam. They're scams there, although there are. It's not just because pump and dumps, but it's because people don't know how to trade those. People want to trade. I mean, even a coin like Useless, for example, is a very common coin. The behavior on that coin is very different, and I can look at this as like, this is a very different behavioral coin, that doesn't always need to be held. Okay, a lot of people just want to like buy and hold a coin, or whatever. So, but that's not always the case. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to look at the total market cap. Let's just get started here. I do want to cover the total market cap 1, 2, and 3, because I think this is very important. Here in the total market cap, we have a lot of chicken scratch here. It's not very well. The TA is not very good, I should say. One thing I do want to note is that you have your previous high here with your swing high. And so it kind of got into the lower end. It did attempt to go below twice, but it actually held both times, so that's not too bad. What I want to see on the total market cap is above this break here, basically at like 3.73. Now I don't do hard TA on the total market caps, just because there's too many variables at play. We do have a Arun bearish merger here, which tends to favor the lower trend, which is the bearish one. So keep that in mind. I think the ball is still in the bearish court. I think the books are probably a little bit thin right now, so you just want to be careful. That's not a bad thing, honestly, because bottoms tend to form when there's lower volume. So just keep that in mind. If the volume is lower now than it was 3 weeks ago, that's a good thing. But it needs to play out first. So what tends to happen is you get kind of a slow crawl, and that's kind of what we got here back at the end of the last cycle. You had a drop down. This is your capitulation, okay, anger and depression here, okay, and then it took a while to get us, finally it going above. So versus like here for this price point at November 7th, 2022, all the way to October 9th, so almost a year it took to get above that price point to where we never visited again, right? And we shouldn't visit that anymore. But I do want to mention that we had a breakdown here and then it recovered. Okay, this is not a full recovery. This is a deviation because this close here is lower than this close, so this is a deviation. That's a good thing. It's a reclaim. So the bulls do have a chance here. I think the market looks pretty decent right now, actually, with all the green. And I think that we probably should recover. I think if you're into the news, the news does favor a bullish reclaim as well. With I think the United States is going to kind of be a little more the tariff situation is going to be faded, I should say. I think they're going to backtrack a little bit on tariffs to China. I think they realize there's too many moving pieces. I'm not an expert at the details of that, and I didn't prepare to talk about that in this video, but I did see that the news is trying to. I think things are going to get backtracked on what happened a couple weeks ago. So anyway, I just want you to note, however, that you had this jump up and then this jump down. Okay, so if you want to go to total 2, and I do want to mention before I do that there's not really a divergence. There's kind of like a double bottom here, but if you go to total 2, there is a divergence. Okay, so clearly a lower leg down here, and then an uptick on that. So I think that's significant. So if you take out Bitcoin, there is a clear divergence. You could make a case for one with total 1, although I think it's close, and I'm not in favor of that because Bitcoin doesn't show that, which we'll get to in a second. But if you exclude Bitcoin, it clearly does. There's a very clear divergence here, and that makes me think that there was some overcorrection. I think there was some overselling, obviously, right? That I'm not saying, not breaking any news with that. When you exclude Bitcoin, so I think alts could recover here, and we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, the chart's still just as messy here as it is elsewhere. On the weekly, we still have this bear div that actually came back down. So if for total 2, I would like to see this reclaim a little bit higher, like 162 roughly, or 161 even. And so like alts are still going to have to recover here pretty well. A lot of alts just don't look good. They're looking better. They're looking better since the weekend, but they're still not looking great. They're still not above like one day time frame reclaims that I tend to look at. But I do want to go to total 3. And so you have the same thing here, same bear div, same situation here. Aaron turned bearish actually, but you have a much more prominent bull div here on the daily. So that also makes me think if you exclude a Bitcoin, exclude Ethereum, alts are going to rebound here. I really do think so. And so we'll see what that looks like in terms of Bitcoin here in a second. But I would not be surprised if Bitcoin kind of just stays kind of choppy here. And I think that that's a good thing and a bad thing, because when there's such a downward move like we had on the 10th, it's going to affect a lot of alts really bad. Like there were some main alts, like Sui went down like 70%, right? Like it just insanely low. And I think Atom went down to like 0.001 or something, like almost literally zero. And so, but what you find is they're actually probably going to recover more as well. And I think recover is kind of a loose term because they might still not make new highs, at least locally. So I should say the proper terminology should be they're more volatile. And so I think Bitcoin will be least volatile here this week. That may be a good thing, and it may be a bad thing. It just depends on how you are trying to trade. If you are active in trading, this may give you an opportunity in the alts. And if you are looking for altcoin opportunities in that range this week, then our premium membership is something that we'll talk about those altcoins. So you can check that out if you want to. But if you want to kind of if you don't feel as certain or don't feel confident trading and you just want to focus on Bitcoin, then that might be a good week for you to focus only on Bitcoin. So I think this is a weird week where it's just going to depend on the type of trader that you are. I really think so. So I do want to mention two things here on Bitcoin. We're going to go to Bitcoin now. One is this distribution. I don't want to scare nobody here, but this is somewhat irregular, but still on track to play out pretty well. So I'm watching out for this here, that we could actually come up here. We're at a retest point, and so this is the marker that I'm looking at. If we can recover above this, so if we can close above like 111, like 150 or 111.2 even, then this is in a good chance to invalidate. Now, it still could play out. I think here would be your invalidation, like 115, 150. But this is something where we are setting up for a bearish retest right here. Until otherwise, this needs to be looked at as a bearish retest. Now, if it goes above, then that's a confirmation that we reclaim. So you have to think of it as a reclaim or a retest. Okay, that's the simplest way to do it. There's so many more ways to make that complicated, right? And some of them make you a lot of money. But the best way for most people is to keep it simple. Think in terms of one R or the next. Is it going to retest or is it going to reclaim? And until it crosses through this fully and at market close on the candle close, so at the end of the day, so we still have almost 20 hours left, it needs to be treated as a retest, okay? Because you don't know if it's going to. And if you don't know if it's going to, the odds are just letting it continue, like a continuation, which would be bearish. Because we've been in a bearish move since the top here at October 6th. If it goes above, then it's a reclaim, and then we can look at this. So anyway, this distribution, if this plays out, could have us go down to like 94,000, by Thanksgiving. And so just keep in mind, I think this is a worst case scenario, but it still could play out. And so I'm going to go to the regular Bitcoin chart here, and kind of just look at this. Now, with this here, there's no divergence, as you can see. There are divergences on some other charts. Just kind of look at random, like Polkadot. See what I'm saying? Like those kind of play out. So just be aware of that. There's a lot of altcoins that do have daily divs. Bitcoin, first of all, is not an alt, but also doesn't have that div. And so, but it does have this dip here, and it has a reclaim. So I do like this. If you really wanted to do a long, I would not do this necessarily as a leverage long, but it is lower leverage, so maybe you'd be required to. But just tapping into the highs there, I think would be a very solid 2.2. I think there's better R&R values to look at if you wanted to do that. I think one way to kind of shorten that out would even be something like so, but you're pushing it at 4% on the stop loss. So just be aware of that. That's a 3.5. But I'm looking at the reclaim for this. And it looks like we might get it. We still have almost a full day left, so just keep that in mind. On the 4 hour, we do have that. And so if you wanted to do this trade, you certainly could. And I think this would be better if you wanted to target that highs here for a long. It's a 3.6 almost on the R value at about 13.8%. I think that looks pretty solid. If you really wanted to do something, and even if this doesn't play out, this is still your best R&R. And so that's something I tend to focus on. Even if you're wrong, you still want to look at what could give you the best R&R. That tends to be how I buy at bottoms. Now I do miss a lot of bottoms too, or I do, because like this could be a bottom and then it ends up not being it. Like let's say I missed that, okay, but this could be the bottom. Either way, I still catch the bottom. So I do tend to catch bottoms quite a bit, but that doesn't mean I'm at 100% accuracy, because some coin, like I said, if maybe this is the bottom, it doesn't work, then I lose that one, right? So anyway, I digress from that. But this is a good R value. I like this. Based off this type of formation, however, I can see this coming back down, just from experience, because you have your bearish breaker. This is your full retest of the breaker, so this could come back down. So you could also short this too if you wanted, if you think this is going to go back down. And this would be a good placement. This would be a very high leverage trade, by the way. So just keep that in mind. But something like that, 2.6, that's not a trade I like to take. I'm not a big fan of doing anything over 20x, in my opinion. But that is there as kind of a reference point. So, but that's pretty much Bitcoin on the 1 hour. You're not really seeing much else, just the retest there. So I won't go into that because it's just the same thing. So anyway, that is the video. If you're interested in the premium group or you're already in it, we will talk about Ethereum, Solana, plus some picks of mine for this week. So go ahead and check that out if you're able or if you want to. But that's the video. I'll try to do observations with Otsu tomorrow, where we cover the weekly, the 2-week, and the monthly time frames for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and any news that may be out there. So, but let me know what you think. And if this is on X, go ahead and just like and retweet. Help me out a little bit with the algo. I'll see you next time. Hope you have a good day.